The 2025 Halloween episode is produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC. For 29 days, you've been counting down to this day. The clock has reached 0. Today is the day. Welcome to the Geek Speak Show's 2025 Halloween episode. This year, featuring scary stories and encounters with the unknown from you, our listeners, and some of our guests. Here are your guides for the Halloween episode, Henry San Miguel and Shanclen.
Welcome everybody to the Halloween episode. For the past 13 years, the Halloween episode has always been the most downloaded episode. So let's see if I can keep that going with Volume 2. The Halloween episode's always been different, kind of. Two things are always the same, though. Spooky and fun. That's the kind of Halloween that I like. Spooky and fun. I never really liked the gory or the extreme Halloween haunts or the movies, especially as I get older. I enjoy, I guess what you'd call vintage or classic Halloween celebrations, the more calm ones. Again, as I get older, I don't think my heart can take it anymore. If something jumps out at me, that might be the last thing I see. I'm more into, like I said, the history of Halloween. I like that. The traditions, how we celebrate Halloween. Trick or treating obviously is in that, even though I can't eat many candies anymore either. I'd rather do that rather than celebrating death and the demonic and all that, the darker kind of stuff. Especially after meeting, you know him as the Nerdy Navajo, and learning things that I didn't know. I didn't think I wanted to know, but I'm glad that I do know them now. And speaking of that Nerdy Navajo, there is some news. Of course, he's here for the Halloween episode. Aho, young warrior. Welcome back to the show.
Aho, Henry. Happy to be here. Yes.
I don't have treats for you, so I might have to trick you in some way.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm not that much into candy anyways, Henry.
Well, he is, but only after a workout. Especially the good ones.
Exactly. Yes.
But I want to have you talk about something that we brought up actually a couple of weeks ago, and when you give a preview, if you will, for what we're about to hear on this Halloween episode. I'm gonna have you talk into that with a little bit more detail, because it is it's actually terrifying, really, but it is spooky what you and your team does. You don't just, you do, but you don't just watch the movies and read the comic books. Well, now you do, because like we've learned the last few weeks, now you're obsessed with collecting comic books. So obviously You're doing that now. But I'm gonna have you do that in just a little bit. Before that, though, I'm gonna do the best part of Halloween, and it goes back to, like I said, something I've always loved about Halloween. Other than the obvious dressing up, going to get candy, it was something that my cousins and me actually started doing this. I think we were 7 or 8, maybe younger, but I definitely remember around 7 or 8. After we finished our adventures, getting candy and going around our neighborhoods, we would come home, usually to my house. We'd come back to my house because we had a big living room, so we would sit there and we would dump all our candies. That way we wouldn't run into each other's, because that's mine. Then we'd be fighting. But as we were getting our candies checked and eating some of them and starting to take off our costumes for the night, we would start telling ghost stories. At first it was just fun. Then as we got older, it started to turn into, well, let me out scare you, and it started into trying to jump scare people, well, each other. And then what made it really fun was when our parents and my uncles and aunts, when they would jump in, and they would not only tell us stories, but this is how I learned about, I guess I'll call it the haunted history of my family, real stories. Apparently it wasn't just me that saw stuff. It was happening way before I was born. So that's where all of this, my interest in ghost stories and Halloween, that's where it came from the tradition, I guess it was, with my cousins. Now, as we all got older, we grew up, we made our own lives. We never did that again on Halloween, except I just listened to people on the radio calling in, telling their ghost stories with Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM, or as he called it, Ghost to Ghost AM. That's what it turned into on Halloween. So when I started the Geek Speak show, I had to bring a version of that to the Halloween episode. It was more of a party the first 3 years, the Halloween episode. Those of you that were here from the beginning, you remember that, with guests in the studios and on the phone. It sounded like a regular episode, really. If you remember, we had Eileen Dietz, who played not Regan, but in The Exorcist, when you see the Pazuzu, the actual demon, she was the one doing the motion for that. So we had her on, and we talked about that. We had some other horror actors on. But then as the years went on, it became what you're about to hear right now. I asked you guys for your ghost stories, and you sent them in, and it's become a tradition since then. So now that's what you're about to hear right now. But first, although it feels more like San Diego Comic-Con week rather than a cold, dark Halloween. It's hot, at least here in Southern California this week. Doesn't feel like Halloween at all, but I'm going to set the mood with a storm. Pretend it's raining, pretend it's cold, but here's a storm. It's thunder. We're going to turn on the fire. Now that we have that going, here's the first 3 stories.
So my name is Brandon, and this is my story. I live in a 2-dwelling apartment in a house, and I live on the 2nd floor. I've lived here for 21 years. I've had many paranormal experiences in this house, as well as outside and other locations. But this was probably one of the scariest I've ever had. That happened a few years ago. It was in the middle of the night, and I was in a dead sleep. My dog was sleeping with me in bed at the time, when all of a sudden I was woken out of a deep sleep with noises coming from the basement in the downstairs apartment. I didn't know what it was, but initially it sounded to me as if somebody was walking up and down the steps and slamming the basement door. When I woke up, I was startled and I was scared. I thought, it has to be a squatter, or there has to be someone downstairs that I didn't know were living there. But keep in mind, the apartment had been vacant for some time. So then I sat there for just a few brief moments in quiet, and I heard the sound again of somebody going up and down the basement steps and literally slamming the basement door. The dog began to growl and bark as she heard it too. I didn't know what was going on or what was happening, and it happened again a 3rd time. At that point, I decided to call the police. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew what I was hearing. And what I was hearing was somebody going up and down the basement steps and then slamming the basement door. When the police came, I was able to let them in the downstairs apartment because I still had the key. When we went downstairs, the police searched the entire 1st floor, including the basement, and nothing was found. There was no one there. No one was in the house. I didn't know what to think, but the police basically felt that it was the house settling or just wind was causing the noises I was hearing. When I showed the police the basement door and the bottom of the door, how it rubs against the carpet, and it would be really hard for any gust of wind or house settling to slam that door, I tried to show them that was impossible for that door to slam on its own. Of course, they blew me off. They just felt it had to have been explained for some other reason. But I knew what I heard. So when the police were leaving, they asked me for my landlord's name and phone number, which I gave to them. I'm sure they were calling my landlord to let him know that I might be crazy. But I know what I heard. And I've had many paranormal experiences in this house, but none of which rattled me like that one did. I know what I heard. I heard someone going up and down the basement steps and slamming the basement door. And I tried to debunk it in my mind or tried to figure out what could be causing it, and there was no explanation. I've been living here for 21 years, and that's the worst experience paranormal-wise that I've ever had.
Hi, I've recently become a big fan of your show. I've just been listening like every single day at work. My name is Chelsea, and I want to tell you my story of when me and my husband rented a old farmhouse, over 100-year-old farmhouse, in a small town called Cerro Gordo. It's just about an hour west of Springfield, Illinois. The house was built before 19th century, and it was actually moved by a really prominent lawyer in the region. It was right when they moved it right next to the Cerro Gordo cemetery. And when we were looking for a house to rent, it was cheap. It was out in the country, cornfields. The only neighbor was our landlord, and they were great. And, we could look past the cemetery thing, and we did. Right after we moved in, we lived there for about 2 years. Right after we first moved in, the first thing that happened was my husband had a Visa card that was prepaid for insurance purposes, for prescriptions, things like that. Anyway, he had just gotten a new one, and he lost it. He's like, I need it for this doctor's visit. And he's like, I can't find it. And I'm like, well, order a new one. We'll pay out the difference, blah, blah, blah. So about a month after he had lost it, we had forgot about it. We ordered the new card. We moved on. I was picking up our bedroom, and we don't keep anything under the bed. We don't store anything underneath there. There might be some socks. That's about it. I look under the bed, and in the dead center of our queen-size bed, in the middle, was his Visa card. And I had to shimmy underneath there, grab it out. I go downstairs. I'm like, Michael, what the devil? Look, here's the card. And he's like, where'd you find that? I'm like, it was underneath the bed, in the middle of the bed. How the devil would it even get there? Nobody knew. After this happened, my aunt came through, blessed the house, stage, the whole thing. And it was quiet. Things started kind of stirring up, though, a little bit later. Lights would turn on and on by themselves. I would come home, every single light would be on in the house, even lights to closets. The reason I think that this entity might be a child is because what I'm going to tell you right now is that we had a chalkboard in our kitchen where we could write, grocery list down, and I had colored chalk. And the basement was just a cellar with just a washer dryer on it, and the ceiling was an open ceiling, so you could see all the cobwebs and wires and stuff. And I was always very cautious because I had a spider drop on me once, so I was always looking up at it and noticing it just because I didn't want another spider to drop on me. And one time I look up, and there are chalk drawings in all different colors of chalk, drawings in the rafters. And I am just doodles, scribbles, little people. I am just standing there. I'm completely kind of frightened, and we don't have children. And I know that he didn't do that, and I know that I sure as hell didn't doodle chalk drawings in the rafters. And I grab the laundry, go upstairs, and I tell my husband. He's like, that's really weird. He starts kind of believing and seeing, starts seeing the same things, like the lights, the faucets, things like that. I was cleaning out my closet, and there was kind of a little hidden wall where I found more of the chalk doodles, and I found the actual chalk. There was 3 different colors of this little skinny sidewalk chalk, and it was in the closet. Like I said, we don't have any kids. We didn't do this to ourselves. Very frightening. One day, my husband, he was doing laundry downstairs, and I wasn't home. And he walked down the stairs, was doing some stuff, and you could see through there was no backing on the steps, so you could see straight through the stairs to the wall, and he looks over and he sees a pair of bare feet standing on like the first couple steps, like they're about to walk down. And he's like, what? And he was like, hello, because he knew it's my feet, my legs, because he's like, they were children's feet. And he's like, he ran up the stairs and he grabbed the gun because, you know, he didn't know what was happening. He thought somebody had broken into the house. And I'm like, well, nobody did. He was frightened. And we never saw, but that was the first time we'd ever like seen, and the only time we'd ever seen like an actual apparition, if you will, was these children's feet that he saw. We did end up moving out when we decided to go back to the family farm for his family, and we moved to Quincy, Illinois, and we bought a house here, and we haven't had any apparitions, things. I mean, I haven't had any issues. Usually, like I said, I'm pretty in tune to things like that. But yeah, that's my story of my haunted Eric Gordo, Illinois. But I love the show, and I appreciate all you guys do and giving people an out, something to share their stories with, so people don't think they're crazy like everyone thinks I am when I tell them what we went through. And that's my story.
Hey, Crystal here with Integrity Paranormal Research. I'd like to share a story that happened in my current home a few years ago. At the time, my husband was working the night shift, so I was home alone, sleeping with my Doberman by my side. Then something woke me up. I open my eyes, and I see a man walking along the side of my bed, between the bed and the wall. And he's like walking from the headboard towards the foot of the bed, where he just like disappeared into the shadows of the room. So, kind of weird, kind of creepy. But if you don't know me, I can be very skeptical. So my first thought wasn't, oh my God, it's a ghost. My first thought was, okay, I'm probably just waking from a dream. Probably wasn't real. Whatever. I've read about that hypnagogic state of sleep where your body is waking up, but your mind is still asleep. So I thought that's all it was. So anyway, I'm fully awake by this point, so I roll over onto my left side to try to get back to sleep. And that's when I see Tessa, my dog, standing alert on the bed, staring at the area where I saw the man disappear. And I'm like, okay, all right, maybe that wasn't just a dream. Gotta cleanse the house tomorrow. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Thanks, Henry, for letting me share my story, and happy Halloween!
Now, let me have Shanclen read a couple of the stories that were sent in, emailed. You guys are, I guess you're a little shy, or you don't want your voice out there. It's okay. You just email the stories, so I'm going to have Shanclen read those right now.
Good day. My story is a short one. After falling asleep, I had an intense dream about a presence behind me. It felt lustfully sinister. It made my skin crawl. It put its arms around me while I was sleeping, and I had the urge to wake up. I sometimes sleep with the covers over my face, and in this case, I had the feeling to take the covers off my face and look in the doorway. In the doorway was a tall, black hooded figure just watching me. I got the heebie-jeebies and I put the covers back over my face. I tried to calm down and eventually took the covers off again, and it left. After that, I forever slept with the door closed. What do you think about it? What do you think it could have been? Sincerely, Alyssa. Sounds like you have a shadow being in your house. I suggest cleansing and claiming your home. This story was sent in by Michael Blair. When I was 7 years old, during summer, I was at my dad's house. I was still asleep and my dad woke me up. He put a blanket over my head and he told me not to move or make a sound. Just then, I heard the closet door open. I peeked from under the blanket and I saw something with lime green colored scales on its feet and 3 toes on each foot. I wasn't sure what I saw at first. The creature walked out of the closet, into the bedroom, and out into the hallway. I stayed under the sheets for about 5 minutes, and then I called out to my dad, who I noticed had disappeared from my room when I saw this thing. I got no response. I got up and I looked around for him. I couldn't find him anywhere in my room. I went to my uncle's bedroom. Gone. I went to my grandparents' bedroom. Everybody was gone. I was looking around the house, but no one was inside the house. I went around the house 3 times, but still couldn't find anyone inside or outside the house. The whole house and neighborhood was dead quiet. And this was at 7:30 in the morning. And when I went back to my bedroom and pulled the sheets over my head and laid down, the whole house came back to life. It's still a puzzle to me to this day.
Oh, so this is Shanclen's Halloween story. Let me take you back decades, years ago, when Hero and I were just children. At this time, we used to live in a trailer park many years ago. And come to find out years later that this area where this trailer park was established on used to be a burial ground for Anasazi people long ago. So we were constantly visited as children in our dreams of nightmares, constant horrors when we would sleep, night terrors, we'd wake up screaming for our parents. And I remember one particular dream, there was a dark entity with black lines all over his face, painted red and white, came up to me and grabbed me as a child. And he told me, I will come for you soon, and I'm going to take you to where your parents can never find you again. And I woke up the next day, I freaked out, and I told my brother, and he said, nothing's going to get you. I'll make sure you're okay. There's one thing I remember from that deity, was it had yellow and red eyes that glowed in the night. That terrified me. I was like, okay, so I shook it off. So I continue on our day. My brother and I would go outside and play. It was just like a normal day. My parents worked day jobs at the time, and sometimes they had to hire a babysitter to watch us. Now, throughout the years, my brother and I have kind of gone through many babysitters, but this one was different. This story is a story of the possessed demon babysitter. So the babysitter arrived on the site, arrived at our home, knocked on the door, really loud too, pounded on the door. My father went to the door. So who's pounding on the door? I looked at her, really tall woman. And at the time, I was a child, so, everything was a lot bigger than me. So with that, she entered the home. My dad said, I'm going to be back in a couple hours. Is there any way you can watch the kids? The food's here, they have their bedtimes here. These are some of the chores they need to do. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and take care of it. So my father left. Once that door closed, she turned and looked at my brother and I. She says, okay, I want you guys to do your chores and I'm going to make you some food. I said, okay. And me at the time, my brother and I, we kind of had a set schedule when we would do our chores. And she wanted us to do it at a certain time. It was out of our routine. So I rebelled. It's like, I don't know you. You're not my mom. You're not my dad. This is the times we do our chores. And she stood over me. She looked me dead in the eye. And I looked in her eyes. That same yellow and red glow was inside of her eyes. And she looked at me and said,
I told you I'd come for you.
I screamed and I ran away, but she grabbed my arm before I could run away to my bedroom. And she looked at me and says, I'm gonna count to 5. if you are not doing your chores in 5 seconds, you're going to go to timeout. She counted 1, 2, and I did not give her the chance to get to 5. And I ran as fast as I could to my bedroom. And I went underneath our bunk bed that my brother and I had. And you just hear big, huge footsteps come in. I'm straight into the room. She says,
I told you what would happen if you ran away.
and so my brother came running in after her. Leave my brother alone, leave my brother alone. So she grabbed my leg and pulled me out and put me in timeout. But here's the thing. I turned around and looked out of the corner of the room, and there was a dark shadow that jumped out of her body. And so after that, she turned out to be pretty nice. But here's the thing. We don't know where that shadow went. So after my father returned, we told him what she did to me, and she was fired that day. So my dad consoled us, my mother consoled us, told us it was going to be okay, she's never going to be back. I said, okay. So I went to bed, my brother and I went to sleep, and something just felt off in the room. That shadow that jumped off of her returned. You could hear it running around the room. Little tiny footsteps would go around. You hear one of the toys start moving around. You hear a string be pulled.
There's a snake in my boot!
Boy, man, was I scared. I was on the bottom bed of the bunk bed, and my brother woke up and heard the same thing.
There's a snake in my boot!
The sheets and my blanket on my bed started getting pulled, and I looked down and I saw Woody right there. But there wasn't just one set of footprints, there was two. You hear that coming around. Then when you hear that second voice come out, my heart dropped and I started screaming.
Buzz, 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 Lightyear to the rescue!
And both toys started pulling at my sheets, and my brother jumped down and threw them against the wall. And he jumped in bed with me, we put the covers over us, and then my dad came in, turned on the lights, and the toys just dropped on the floor. Man, was that pretty scary as a little child. After my father turned on the lights, he said he saw a shadow come out of those toys and jump out of the window. Not too long after, we had a ceremony done, and we had to move out of that trailer park. So for those of you who don't know, Anasazi spirits are very, very creative when they come to scaring children. So be ready and always look after your children.
Last week, you told us Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Tremors were a scary movie. Now, because of that, can you watch Toy Story now?
It depends. I was a very traumatized child. A lot of hauntings happened. A lot of burial sites we used to live at. A lot of toys we used to have. They turned the things I love into things that scared me.
Well, I do gotta say, I gotta make it a little personal. When you guys came here, not for OC Paracon, for the what is it called, for the Ventura one. When you came for that one, we did go to, not to Disneyland, but to downtown Disney. We had dinner there, and you guys have fun. I didn't notice Shanclen was a little hesitant around some things. Now it explains why.
Don't get me started on Goofy and Mickey. Oh my god. People in suits like that scare me because they wear a false face. They look at you with a smile that has no life to it. You look in their eyes and there's no soul in there. And they're walking around bigger than you and they want to grab you. Turns out when I grew up, they just wanted to give me a hug. They wanted to steal me.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, man. Oh.
Guess you can't wait till the Five Nights at Freddy movie next year.
I'm ready now. I'm old enough. I'm big enough. Let's do it.
Yeah, he's got a sword now. He's not afraid of him now. So there it is. That's a good one actually. That one you haven't shared that one. You haven't shared too many. Usually it's Hero telling the stories. I like that one actually, and it won't be too much of a secret. But now you know. Next time you come here, it's gonna be some toys waiting for you because my kids have those toys too.
I'm ready. I've been training all these years. I am ready now.
Before we go on with the stories, I want to have Shanclen talk about something we started talking about, but I said let's save it for the Halloween episode, which is now. Why your stories, why Shanclen's stories are different than, for example, the ones you just finished hearing right now. Most of them were, I thought I heard a noise, or this happened, or a door moved, or a door opened, or this happened. When Shanclen tells stories, I think you guys are used to this now. When he tells stories, when you go to his channels and you watch the stories that he shares on there, his stories, not the ones from his listeners, they are terrifying. Is the only way to describe them. They're never. I mean, there's some that are a little tame, we'll say, but most of them they're battling demons, or we saw this demon, or this happened, or we saw a Yanigloshi, which is a skinwalker, a real one, not what you see on TV. Those are not skinwalkers, but a real one. They deal with those. So, Shanclen, have explain to everybody why your stories are different rather than just we saw a shadow.
Well, just for that aspect alone right there. Well, of course we see shadows. Everyone sees shadows here. But do you actually have the answers of what actually is that shadow? And a lot of my stories, a lot of my teachings and everything that I come from ancient knowledge of my indigenous people from my tribe that I have. And there's a lot of people out there in this world in their own indigenous ways, own indigenous tribes, languages, backgrounds, and faith that all experience something like this. It's just, we're one of the first to kind of share it with the world, I guess. But we don't share everything just because we have to keep everything sacred. We only share a little bit, I guess, scratching the surface of what paranormal interaction with ghosts, beings, cryptids, so many different things out there in the world that us indigenous people have always, interacted for a long time. And it's just something that's second nature to us. And it seems like in modern day world, it's been forgotten how to communicate with spirits. So a lot of my stories and teachings are of my journeys that I've been on throughout my life. Whether that be, battling demons or, just having normal conversations with spirits that need help. So everything in between and beyond pretty much is what you can comprehend as a normal human being.
Yeah, you made me think of something as you were saying that, because it's starting to sound like we used to call them meeting of warriors, or now we call them smoke breaks. But when we used to do that, when your brother was still here and the old team you guys were a part of, when we used to do it on the paranormal podcast that we had, I never thought of this question until right now when the way you were explaining made me think of this. So let me ask you, wish your brother was here to answer this one also to get his take, but you're here. Like you said, it's because this is second nature to you, and people today, they really don't understand it that in that way. With it, the paranormal is more accepted, is more of an acceptance than when I was younger. That's for sure. It was still more taboo back then. You couldn't talk, especially not at your job or in school. You couldn't tell your boss, "Hey, I think my grandma visited me last night. Didn't she die a week ago?" "Yeah, but she came to me." You'd be fired that day. Today, there's more of an acceptance. They probably have the story about, they spoke to their grandma or someone that passed away. So there's more of an acceptance is what I'm saying. However, because of that, are we non-natives, non-indigenous people, are we from the West, Americans specifically, I should say, are we, since there's TV shows and seems like everybody has a paranormal channel or a paranormal something, are we starting to awaken, get enlightenment, or not even close to what spirituality actually is?
I guess people are in the still in the womb, I guess, of knowledge. Analogy of, like people haven't really been born into it yet or exposed.
Wait. This is the Geek Speak show. Explain it like this. Remember when Neo re-woke up again? That's where we are right now. That's what you're saying.
So you're still in the Matrix, but you're seeing the glitches in the Matrix. People haven't woken up yet.
You haven't taken the pills yet.
Yeah, they haven't even been close. They're still like a couple years away from being offered the pills, but they're barely noticing the glitches in the matrix, I guess you could say. Yeah, so it's there's very few people that have been awakened for sure. I know I've been doing the been in the paranormal community for a long time. There's some people, pretty much the most advanced person I've seen is they've taken the pill. But none of the people that I have met outside of our tribes have actually woken up from the matrix, unfortunately.
Then they meet others who are the architects.
Yes.
And they bore you to death with their explanations, like in the movie. So those guys you really don't want to be around. But when we're not keeping it cryptic on purpose. We're not keeping it mysterious. Like Shanclen said, there are some things that even on the paranormal podcast when they were on there, yeah, they were the paranormal consultants. They would and spiritual consultants. They would explain things. They would share some of the teachings, but not everything. Not because it's secret, but because it needs to be sacred. Some things, like if you yourself listening to us, if you're religious, you understand this. Prayers are not for everyone. Those are private things. Same thing here, and they're also sacred. So, what we can say, and what I am going to have you talk about now is a conversation that we started to talk about on that episode a couple of weeks ago. Because it's the week, because it's Halloween, especially Halloween night on Friday or over the weekend. You go out with your friends, not getting drunk. I'm just saying, just going out, Halloween fun, trick-or-treating, whatever, Halloween party, whatever you're going to do. Maybe, you've never done this before, but maybe they're going to talk you into, hey, let's have a Ouija session. Let's, I dare to play Bloody Mary, or let's see if we can conjure a demon. Let's see if we can reach our dead friend or dead somebody. Why should they be careful when they do that? Even though they're doing it just for fun, but why should they be careful when somebody starts doing that on Halloween night?
Trying to think of a movie analogy.
Talk to me.
Talk to me. Ouija board, that movie. Pretty much be careful, everybody, because I personally haven't played with a Ouija board just because I know what'll happen if you use it wrong. The Ouija board is pretty much a tool that is used to be able to communicate with spiritual beings. Now, what happens when you use a tool wrong? You can get seriously injured. When it comes to certain things like that, whether it comes to rituals, Bloody Mary, or board games such as that, yeah, it may be sold at your local Target or any convenience store nearby. But just be careful, because you could be inviting some spirits in the local area or in the spiritual realm to your home. And let me just tell you, if any of those spirits show up and you don't know what you're doing, could be good or could be very, very bad and ruin your life. Trust me, I have a huge paranormal channel. I hear stories all the time of people who have unfortunately played with Ouija boards or any other such games, and I get an email saying I have something choking me in the middle of the night. I have something scratching me. I have some stuff that's being thrown in my house. Somebody passed away in a very gruesome death. And yeah, it gets pretty gnarly. So please, if somebody offers you it, do what Shanclen would do and just say, hell no.
Not, oh, hell no. That's what he said. Now, perfect segue right there. If you guys listen, if you're rolling your eyes like, he's just trying to scare us. Not really. This is the perfect segue. I actually got a call. They want to be anonymous. I had to cut out the names, but let me play this. This is an experience, a really, really, really bad experience that they had with a Ouija board. Listen to this story.
I've got a Ouija board story. My friend Jewel was 24 years old, and she bought this old house. It was a late 1800s house, and it was in an older part of town. And she lived there alone, but she heard footsteps and noises in the house all the time. And one night she was woken up in the middle of the night, and there was a shadowy figure with red eyes just staring at her. She said the only way she can describe it is a demon. It was demonic. And so she She was terrified. So she called me one afternoon and said she had bought a Ouija board and asked me if I would come over and play Ouija board with her and see if we could figure out what was going on in her house. And so on my way there, I stopped at another friend's house, my friend Sue, and asked her if she wanted to come with me. We were going to go over to Jules and play Ouija board and see if we can figure out who's in her house, if it's a demon or what's going on. And Sue said, no way. She begged me not to go. She begged me not to play with the Ouija board. And she said, if I insist on going, will I please take one of her crosses with me? And I told her, no. I said, it's just a game. It's not going to hurt anybody. We're going to be okay. And so I left, and she would not go with me. When I got to Jules' house, she sat up 2 chairs, and we were facing each other, and we put the Ouija board on our thighs, on our knees and thighs. And we put our fingers on the planchette, and it went slowly around in a circle right in the middle of the board. Then it shot off to the right, and the pointer actually went off of the right corner just above my right leg. And so we tried it again. We must have tried for 15 minutes, and it just kept doing the same thing, circling around slowly in the center, then it would shoot off to the right. So finally we gave up, and I went home. And when I took my pants off, a cross fell out of my right pocket. Sue had slipped a cross in my right pocket, and I didn't know it. The Ouija board was pointing to that corner of my pocket where the cross was, and was refusing to work because there was a cross in my pocket. Oh, I was terrified. I called Jewel and told her. She tried to get rid of the Ouija board. She took it out in her backyard and put it in her doghouse. And she said it appeared on her front porch the next day. So she put it in the outdoor garbage can and then found it in the trunk of her car. So we're in Utah, and she called a friend in Idaho and asked him if he would come down and get it and take it. She said she never heard from him what happened to it, what he did with it. But she had a lot of bad luck after that. She got diabetes. Her mom had a heart attack. Her brother died, all within a year. So she moved out of the house and rented it out, and horrible things happened to the renters. They ended up moving out. So she sold the house.
All right, so there you go. Like I said, I had to keep it anonymous. She didn't want to be identified, but that was a real story. And, it sounds like a horror movie. What Shanclen told you right there, that lady experienced it for herself. So, having said that, I was actually thinking of this actually, and you mentioned it without meaning to mention it a minute ago when you said the spirit world. I'm sure there's some listeners listening right now who have gone to a store that has that name, Spirit Halloween store. As we all go, it's like our Toys R Us in October. I don't know if you've gone, Shanclen, and noticed they have pillows, rugs, I think shirts that have Ouija boards on them. Pretty sure somebody's asking, are those dangerous? Could those invite something in?
I believe it's all about intent. If you just have the image of a Ouija board on you, could be. It's a lot smaller chance of it actually affecting you, but who knows? Maybe a spirit might come up and start touching your jacket or your shirt or your pillow or something like that. Like I said, it's a tool. You don't see Native Americans using our sacred items and jish on a pillow.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Exactly. It's like these things are not toys, everybody. These things are serious tools that are used to be able to communicate with spirits of the spirit world. Now, so if you were going to ask me, Shanclen, would you ever buy one? Hell no, I would not. I don't have any pictures of these sacred objects or any of these haunted objects or anything like that on me. The only thing that you'll ever see me wear is a plain t-shirt and plain blankets, plain pillows, just because I don't even want to risk the fact of any darker being or spirit coming into my home or affecting me mentally, spiritually, or physically. Yes.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I'm trying to think, have I ever seen you wearing a different type of shirt? And the answer is, I think no. It's always been either Shanclen Shadow Productions, your logos, logo from the old team you were on, the Geek Speak shirts. I've seen you when we go to WonderCons and Comic Cons. I've seen you wear that. And I think that I've seen you wear a white t-shirt, but even that was just plain white t-shirt. Didn't have anything on it.
I think the only shirt that I wear that has like a logo on it or like any image is Baby Yoda. That's the only shirt that I wear that has any kind of picture on it. And
okay,
trust me.
yes, Star Wars fans, I hear you. I'll correct them. It's Grogu.
Yeah, I said that. I said Baby Yoda and Grogu. Yes, but anyways, if Baby Yoda wants to possess me, let so be it. Let him give me his blessings.
I think he will next year. His movie's coming.
Yes.
But sticking with the Halloween stuff, the Ouija stuff. I mean, somebody's not listening. Somebody, no matter what warnings we just gave him right now, you still went and not bought it at Spirit Halloween, but you did. Actually, they do sell Ouija boards at Spirit Halloween. Now that I think about it, the game. So somebody bought it. Somebody's playing. Somebody went to a Halloween party. They decided to play with the Ouija board. Tried to summon demons, and just for fun. The next day, it's a few days later. The next week, it's November now. You're thinking Thanksgiving, but suddenly you're getting sick. Weird things are happening. Things are moving in your house. It just feels different. Shanclen, what do? We didn't listen to you. What can we do?
You reap what you sow. Deal with it. You did not hear my warning the first time. You did not tell your friends. No, deal with it. I'm just kidding, everybody. No. If you are dealing with a spiritual attachment from you messing around with a Ouija board that you do not know how to use, start off by telling it to leave you, detach it from you mentally, spiritually, physically, any objects that you may have or your home, land, or property. Start off with that. If that doesn't work, go to your local tobacco shop or any gas station and get loose tobacco. Yes, I got questions. Can it be cigarettes? You can just cut those open, get the tobacco out of the cigarettes, and go outside, offer that tobacco, speak to that spirit directly and say, hey, I'm giving you this tobacco in exchange that you leave me alone, you leave my house, you leave my family, and you detach yourself mentally, spiritually, physically from myself, any of my object, my home, my land, or my property. And talk with it. Just say, hey, we were messing around. I don't want to be messed with you. I don't want you messing with me or my family, throwing things around, scratch me up, getting me sick anymore. I want you to be gone. And if that does not work, whatever faith or religion that you follow, I would say go to the healer, cleanser, or protector of your faith or religion and get a cleansing.
But wait, I gotta have you repeat that one part, because we talked about it on the episode a couple of weeks ago, but in case somebody wasn't listening then, let me repeat it there. That's very important. It may seem like nothing, but it is very important. Like you learned that lesson. It's how and what you say to it. So repeat again how they should word the things.
Okay. I offer you this tobacco in exchange. Remember that. In exchange that you do not attach yourself to me mentally, physically, or spiritually. That acknowledges all three realms of your being. There's 13, but those are the three main ones. Mentally, physically, and spiritually. And you detach yourself from any of my objects. That includes whatever you were wearing, your phone, your wallet, any pictures you may have on you, your car, any stuff that you may have brought with you to that said party. Detach yourself from any of those objects, your house, your land, and yeah, do that. Should be all right.
I know this, so don't look at me weird when I ask you these things, but I'm asking for them. when you say sprinkle tobacco, like how? Just on the floor, or how do we do that?
So you go outside. It could be really anywhere outside. It could be in your driveway, edge of your property if you have some land, and then there's some open grass or anything like that. Just go outside of your home into the open air, because when you make that contract, it's essentially you're making a contract with that being to leave you alone. You're paying him off, and you're having the spirits witness it too, whether that be during the day or nighttime. You have the moon spirits, star spirits, and the sun taking part in witnessing this exchange for them to leave you alone. So that's why it's important to do it outside.
You know, again, this is a very, very, very simple explanation, but this is the Geek Speak audience. What Shanclen just said, it's like when, well, at least in my generation, when we used to be made fun of, used to be thrown in the lockers, this is like giving them their lunch, the bully, so he will leave you alone. Kind of the same thing here.
Pretty much.
So, yeah, there's that. And again, any questions, and if this is the first time you're hearing Shanclen talk about this and you're wondering like, wait, you mean he knows more than just movies and the stuff he talks about every week? Yeah. We'll repeat it again at the end, but let them know where they can go to learn more about what you know about the paranormal.
So you can go to my YouTube channel at Shanclen Shadow Productions. There I have multiple videos about my encounters and ways you can protect yourself from different beings inside of the spiritual realm that I haven't personally encountered. So you can go there, get creeped out, and also listen to some scary stories.
Yeah, and I'll have it linked on the show description. And again, we'll repeat it again towards the end of this episode, which we're almost there. But right now, we're going to go back to the rest of the stories. In fact, let me go to one that was recorded just a few days ago. Earlier this month, one of the Geek Speak Treats episodes featured John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night, Volume 11. And I had Elena and Jaime Carrillo on to talk about the interstitials that they wrote and they drew for Volume 11. While we were talking, because they were fun, I asked them if they had ever had any paranormal experiences in their life, and here's their answer.
I live in Chicago currently, and the apartment I lived in when I first moved here, and this is going to seem really silly, but it was a very old house. I think it was built in 1890 or so. I would get out of bed and I would put my slippers by the bed, and I'd go to work and I would come home at night and, get ready for bed. And every night my slippers would be kicked under the bed, and not just like shoved, like they got moved or whatever. They would be like on the other side of the bed against the wall. And I used to tell everybody, there's a ghost in my apartment who does not like my slippers.
They're ugly slippers. What can I say?
They were ugly slippers. That's very fair.
Apparently the ghost was offended.
But yeah, I somehow offended some slipper ghost who just couldn't abide it.
Wait.
It's, like I said, it's kind of silly, but it's one of those things where it's like, I have no explanation for that. What else do you call it but paranormal? You know?
Yeah. Well, no, Elena, I was gonna say it was that the only thing that moved, or were any other things out of place?
It was literally the only thing.
Hmm.
It just really hated my slippers.
Well, it could be that. I mean, we're laughing at it, but it also could be, and it's not a bad thing, but it could be someone that used to live there, and it's basically their way of telling you, no, this is my place, not yours.
Could be. Right. Since I moved a couple of years ago. Since I moved, I've not had a problem with the slippers, so the ghost did not follow me, and my current place is not haunted.
A plus. That's a plus.
Jaime, how about you? Have you had any experience?
I don't know that I have. The only thing that comes to mind was I was in Milwaukee and my car died on a street, and it was on an incline, and I got out to try to push it and I lost control, so the car started rolling into traffic, and somebody came out of nowhere and helped me push the car, stopped the momentum, helped me push the car into a parking lot, and when I turned around to tell them thank you, they were gone. There's a chance that I was just so frazzled by the experience that they walked off before I noticed while I was, still trying to park. Or to me, I'm always like making a joke that it was my guardian angel. Apparently, my guardian angel was in his mid-30s with a mullet and a wife-beater T-shirt on, because that's the guy that came out of nowhere and saved me from rolling into oncoming traffic. That's about as much as I could say.
Yeah, no, it could have been, because we've talked, not on this show, but I was telling you before we started on the paranormal podcast I have there, we've talked about angels. They don't actually look the way they don't have wings and the harp and all that. They actually do look like normal people. Some could be terrifying, but most of them, they look pretty normal, like normal people, really. So it could have been.
White wife beater and a mullet. So that's, that was him.
Yeah, so
saved my life.
Okay, I know a lot of you recognize that theme that you hear in the background, including Shanclen, because he did watch this movie after I told him about it. So watch. Shanclen, what movie is that?
Hell House LLC.
Yeah, the first one. Now the director, Stephen Cognetti, he's been a friend of mine. He came on the show right before, I think it was back in 2015 or 16, right before the first Hell House movie came out, and he's been a friend, this whole time. So the first time he came on, he actually came on to talk about the second film. The second film was about to come on, and my friend and at the time former co-host now, but she was the co-host at the time then, Erin Olash, she asked Stephen Cognetti about whether he had any paranormal experiences in real life, and this is what he said. Now, this is the fun part. Erin, you want to jump in and tell them what it is?
So we've been doing this thing where we're asking our listeners to call in and give us some of their paranormal experiences, but now we're also asking the guests. So do you have a real life paranormal experience that you can share with us?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got two. And they're really creepy. Well, for me, they were really creepy.
Well, wait. Do either of them involve Jeff Bezos?
No, those wouldn't be paranormal. Those would be extraordinary.
Yeah.
But anyways, but the conversations I have with Jeff are private between the two of us. I would never public. But he's a good guy, and regardless. So one time I was home alone, and I heard a knock at the back. It was when I was a kid, and I heard a knock at the back door of my house, which normally no one would be in the back of that house because it's all wooded area. And I went to the back, no one was there, but there was snow. There was gigantic footprints back there, and they led back and they were to the house from the woods and back into the woods, like huge. That terrified me as like an 12-year-old. Second one was there was my friends and I. We lived in in a very suburban neighborhood with like big woods and deep woods that had since not been developed at the time. We were going to camp back deep in the woods one night. So when it was daytime out, we went out and we pitched our tents and got ready. Then we went back home and got ready for our big night in the woods. And when the sun started going down, it was just dark out. We were going to go back out into the woods to find our campsite. On our way there, emerged from this woods about 6 or 7 hooded people, all in white. And at first we were like, what? That's weird. And we didn't really think anything of it. And we were just like, okay, a bunch of like night walkers who are just like walking, and for some reason they all have hoods up. And so we followed them. They were walking down the road that comes out of a cul-de-sac, and they were walking up another road. And we were following them from the side of the road and kind of from the yards. And we're like, hello. They wouldn't acknowledge us, and we were flashing flashlights at them, and we couldn't see their faces. They never once acknowledged us, and they kept on walking. And at some point, we stopped following because they're not acknowledging us at all terrified us. And so them just staying straight forward, couldn't see their faces through the hoods, and we just stopped following and said, like, this is weird. And of course, we never camped out in the woods that night.
Ooh.
Wait a minute. I've seen these guys. Aren't they in Hell House?
Right. I mean, as I say that, it might be subconsciously where the hooded figures come from, but no. But these actually was weird. They were white hooded figures. They're all in white, and the white hooded figures, and people, like just people, I don't know, male or female, I don't know. They're just walking, and you couldn't see their faces, and they wouldn't acknowledge us, and we could never, even trying to flash flashlights at them, we couldn't make out really any details.
But with the footsteps, did they look like human footsteps, and how big?
Yeah, no, the footsteps. Yeah, they looked like human. They just looked like abnormally big, and I'm just like, where are they? Who is this? And coming out of a random woods, like that was something that creeped me out. I just remember that, but and knocking at a back door. And me as an 11-year-old, I'm just like, I'm home alone. I'm like, oh, who's at the back door? Oh, that's strange. And I go out there, and there's no one there, but there's footsteps coming and going. That's I thought that was creepy. So that's it. I mean, I've never seen a ghost or anything like that.
Okay, so does that put Steven at the head? Because we're gonna give away a prize actually to
you
the
have
scariest
some good
one.
ones, but I feel like those white hooded people, they could have just been.
Yeah, they're. I'm not saying they're. I'm
racist.
It does sound like a but
But yours was that they were scary.
Yeah, there's none of that in our area, but who would know? But I think you could definitely tell those people.
Yeah.
From seemingly.
I know.
Cold.
They are. Yeah.
I don't think there was anything like ghostly about them. I wouldn't claim that. They were definitely real people. So you're right. They could have just been done with one of their meetings, and so I don't know. It was just creepy.
The footsteps get me.
Everybody's hearing it. This is why I love my Aaron, because you always find a way to make the scary funny.
Yeah,
that's because I'm really terrified. I think.
I know.
It's a good way to explain, like, to not be terrified. Try to find a logical explanation for anything, and that is very logical. You're right. I never thought about that. So.
This is Michelle from Southern California. So something just happened this morning at 5 a.m, and I wanted to share it with you guys while it's fresh in my mind. Again, this happened in Rowland Heights. I think that town is really haunted. I was staying the night at a friend's house. He has a master bedroom that has a bathroom in there with a door, and he always sleeps with the door locked. And I'm just giving you a background story so you guys could put it all together once I tell you what happened. But there is dogs in this house. There's 2 little puppy dogs, but they sleep in another room with his uncle, and they're never allowed in my friend's room. So this morning I get up at 5 to get ready for work. He's sleeping, his door's locked, it's always locked. I'm in the restroom with the door closed, getting ready. Now, he has told me in the past that he has seen things in his room, and that he always feels like somebody's watching him. And I'll probably share another story about him, but this is what happened this morning. So I'm sleeping. I've been there for now like 5 months on and off. Never had any problems in his house before in his room. But I'm in the restroom getting ready, and all of a sudden I hear scratching at the bottom of the door, like really fast, like desperately scratching. And I see like the paws of the dog trying to go under the door, like just trying to get in and like scratching under. So it's scratching the floor under the door crack and scratching the door. And it was like desperately doing it, like then really loud. Now it's 5 a.m. I don't want the dog to wake up my friend. I'm going to call him a friend. I don't want the dog to wake up my friend. Or I'm also thinking he must have got up and gone to the kitchen and left his door open, and the dogs got in. And he doesn't like the dogs in his room. So I'm like just looking at it happen while I'm putting on my makeup. I'm putting on my eyeshadow. So just kind of looking at it and hearing it, I'm like, right, maybe I should get these dogs out of here. Maybe they got in and he doesn't know that they're in here. So I open the door really quickly to rush the dogs out. But when I do that, there's nothing there at all. And he wakes up because I opened the door pretty quickly and it made a noise. So he like sat up really quick and he's like, what's going on? And I go, the dogs. Were the dogs in here? He's like, no. And he looked at his door and his door is still locked. And I was like, I could have sworn the dogs were just scratching at the bathroom door, and that's why I opened the door like this. And he didn't look at me like I was crazy because he's seen stuff before. And he was just like, okay, he just kind of nodded it off and rolled over and went back to sleep. And I just said, okay, well, hopefully you blessed your room because I'm coming back tonight and I don't need nothing clawing at me in the middle of the night. But that was really creepy. I don't know what it was. Last night he and I did get into not an argument or a fight, but we're kind of in this 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of relationship, and I wanted answers from him as to what he wanted. And I got really emotional, so I don't know if it's because I was emotional that I was opening a door to where something was trying to get at me or what. But like I said, I've been there 5 months now on and off, and I've never had an experience, but this thing clawing at the door, bathroom door, and trying to get in. And I saw the paws, like it went through the bottom crack of the door, like clawing at the bottom floor, trying to get in. And it didn't scare me because I thought it was the dog. But it did trip me out once I opened the door and I realized his bedroom door was still locked. But I have just one really quick one. I have to go back into work now, but I don't know if you guys have any answers to the thing clawing at the bathroom floor. At the bathroom door. Please give me some answers to that and why it kind of looked like the dog that they have. And it wasn't, though. I don't know. That just tripped me out. But keep doing what you guys are doing. Thank you for letting me share and have a place to vent all my experiences and not feel like I'm crazy. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Hello, my name is Kat, and I've had a few experiences in my room. The first experience I've had was that I remember lying in bed. I couldn't sleep, and it was still dark, and I just remember lying down in bed with my eyes closed, and suddenly there was like this bright light. And, you know, it's the type of light where you could see it through your eyelids. And so I just sat up in bed, looked around my room, and my room was completely lit up in white light. And whatever it was outside my bedroom window. And the thing is that my bedroom window was completely closed with the curtain shut and everything. But the light was inside my room, penetrating, like if somebody had just turned on a really bright light. And whatever it was that was outside started, I guess, ascending up into the sky because the light in my room kind of just melted down to like a black till it was completely dark in my room. And whatever it was did not make any sound. Like, I remember there was no sounds at all. I couldn't even hear like traffic or anything on the street. And I remember getting up in the morning and asking my mom about rocket launches or something, like satellite launches, and she said, I don't think there was any mentioned on the news. So I couldn't explain what it was. In addition to that, I've had other experiences in my room. These were I've woken up in the middle of the night, and I've seen people in my room. Well, one was something that looked like a shadow person. I just woke up and I see it like on my wall. It just vaguely looked human-like. It was dark and it was like a shadow against the wall, just slowly going from the bedroom window, you know, close to where I was in my bed. And another time I had woken up where there was a man standing over me with his arms crossed and staring down at me. And he looked like he was wearing like a beanie, glasses, and like a plaid shirt. and he was just like staring at me, and I thought somebody had broken into the house, and I literally just grabbed my pillow and tried to punch him, and it's almost like, you know, hitting air. So I mean, he was like there 1 minute and gone the next. And my last experience was that I woke up, same thing. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a nun coming towards me, and she was wearing like white, I believe they're called a habit, like the hair covering, and like a gray, I guess where the shirt or the whatever they're wearing. And she was like coming towards me, and I just stared at her with like, I was scared, and she didn't acknowledge me, and she just kind of came towards the right side of my bed and just disappeared, and that's it. I can't explain what these things are. I don't even know if they're paranormal things, but they're still pretty scary.
This is Aaron Dill. I have at least 3 supernatural experiences in regards to my grandparents. Now, in 1988, my grandpa died December 22nd. He was sick for a very long time, so it wasn't unexpected. But since it was right before Christmas, it was really very sad, and very sad for me to have lost him. And within maybe a couple of days after he died, when you take a shower and you take a hot shower and you have steam on you have steam condensation on the mirror, and generally I would, of course, take a towel and rub that off, and just so I could see me back in the mirror. I don't know if it was that night or maybe the night after, but I recall the bathroom is still, a bathroom is generally still steamy after you rub off all that condensation. I think within a short period of time, it started, clouding back up a little bit. And I noticed that there was a shape of a cross in the middle of the mirror. And it was kind of, sideways. It wasn't a straight, up standing cross, but it was kind of a sideways cross beam. And I don't know, I felt like that was a sign from my grandfather saying that everything was all right. And the interesting thing is, for maybe a month afterwards, after I take a shower, that cross was still there. And now, admittedly, I could have probably have rubbed it off if I wanted to rub the condensation off, rub the mirror off and clean it a little bit better. I probably could have been able to do that, but I didn't want to do that. And I even went back like maybe months later to try to reproduce it to see if it was something that I did the way that I rubbed the mirror off, and I wasn't able to recreate it in the way that it appeared. So I still think that it was my grandfather from beyond the beyond giving me a message of love, let's say. Now, in 1993, my grandmother died of cancer, and she was diagnosed with cancer a month before she died, and it was quite sudden and quite sad. Literally within a week after she died, me and my parents were at her house, cleaning a few things out, and the TV set blew up in the living room. And it blew up in such a way, back then the picture tubes would blow up in these older TVs, and thick black smoke was coming out. And so we had to quickly wheel it outside because it was just so thick that was coming out. It's whatever kind of gas that they put inside of those big, heavy picture tubes back then. But basically the TV blew up. It's almost as if the TV gave up the ghost after my grandmother, because that TV was always on. And she always was watching that TV. And it's the TV that she got when she retired in 1984 from the TV station that she worked at. So it's almost as if, I don't know, the electronics were saying goodbye. A week after my grandmother died, to the day and to the hour, I was at her house by myself, and the phone rang directly at noon. And I thought, that's strange that somebody would be calling. I mean, I guess it could have been a wrong number. I mean, people know that, obviously it wouldn't have been family that was calling. So I picked it up, and there was nobody on the other end. Now, that could have just been, nothing, a salesperson who might have just hung up. But I just didn't feel like that, because I noticed that it wasn't completely, there was kind of like an airy sound on the other end, like somebody was on the other end, that you could hear some sort of room sound, but there was nothing. And I said hello, and later hung up. But the interesting thing, like I said, it was 1 week to the day, to the hour that my grandmother had died. And I feel like that was just another clarification of just letting me know that she's all right, was thinking of me, and I don't know. It's hard to explain. The last example I have, it happened to my mother, and this was maybe about 5 years ago or so. The phone rang, and she was just coming into the room to hear the message, because the answering machine picked up, and she thought she heard my mother, somebody calling my mother's name, and she was repeating my mother's name in and it was a woman's voice. And she said it sounded like it was my grandmother, the one who died in 1983. And she was saying my mother's name. And by the time she got up to the phone, I mean, it had hung up. And it sounded concerned. Her voice sounded concerned on the other end. The interesting thing is that the answering machine did not save the message. So it wasn't something that she could play back to me. It was just, or anybody, it was just something that she told me. And this was at the time where my grandmother's younger cousin died. Just within a day or two, or right around that time. My mother didn't know anything about it. But it's almost as if whoever that was and whatever that was, it was letting my mother know that her cousin had died. And her cousin was, probably in her late 80s. And she had died unexpectedly as well. So that's it. Those are my stories. It's just proof of the supernatural and the unexplained and the great beyond in the spirit world or the heavenly realm. That's it.
Hey, what's up, Henry? This is Trent from the Geek Off the Street podcast. And I'm here to tell you a quick paranormal story about an experience in my family. So out in La Mesa, New Mexico, my uncle's family grew up there. They moved from Spain and settled into La Mesa. And at the time, in the 1940s, there was a small town settlement of 13 people. My uncle's dad and sister, they grew up in this one room house in the town. One day, my aunt who was my great aunt, who was 14 at the time, she left the house in the middle of the night to go use the restroom, which was an outhouse at the time. But she was gone for over 2 hours, when all of a sudden she burst through the door crying and hysterical. They tried to calm her down. They tried to ask her what was wrong. They tried to find out what was going on, and she couldn't get the words out about what happened and what she saw. Up to that point, until she was 14, she was an absolutely normal person, fun-loving, just a regular, happy teenager. From that point on, after that fateful night, she was institutionalized, and she's been there ever since, for the last 55 years. Nobody knows what happened. She has refused to talk about what it was she saw and what caused her to become the way she was. I have a couple of theories. I personally believe she saw maybe a spirit, because I have a close friend that also saw what they call the man in the black hat. when he was a child in New Mexico in Las Cruces, which is the same town that my uncle lives in now. I also heard a recent story about an actress that was on the set of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and her stand-in was a perfectly normal person. And when she sat in, when she was in one of the rooms that they were filming in, she came out crying and hysterical, saying that she saw a lady rocking back and forth and chanting, "What are you people doing in my home?" And she was never the same ever since that after as well. So I think she may have seen something incredibly unexplainable that shocked her and changed her forever. But what do I know? My second story, this is a personal experience. I've never been one to believe heavily in the paranormal or the supernatural, but when I was 8 years old, I was walking across the street from my childhood home with my best friend at the time, and he was coming over to my house for a sleepover. And all of a sudden, we're in the middle of the street, and above us flies a triangle-shaped craft that had lights across the entire, all sides of the triangle. It flew over us and headed east towards Arizona. So at the time, I was 8. This was 1998. And my parents believed me. A lot of other people didn't. A lot of people always asked me about it, and I started getting stressed out about how much people would try to get information out of me or tease me for seeing an alien ship, quote unquote. But just 2 years ago, my dad reached out to me and sent me an article about the Phoenix Lights, which was a 1998 phenomenon where there were multiple space aircraft sightings in the sky, all shaped like a triangle. And so when I saw the picture and I read the article, it was exactly what I saw when I was a kid. And it was during the same year as well. I don't know if it was the same month or date, but it was for sure the same year. And I lived in Southern California at the time, and that ship flew over my house eastward toward Arizona, and which is where the famous Phoenix Lights took place. So now I think more than ever, I think we're not alone in this universe for sure. So, but yeah, that's those are my 2 stories, Henry. Thanks for having me on. I hope these bring some happy chills and exciting thoughts, though, going forward in the holiday season. Happy Halloween, man.
And yeah, that was Trent Tucker. You hear him on the Issues of the Day episodes and on Geek Off the Street, their podcast. We all laugh at Trent for not wanting to go to the Halloween haunts with us or doing anything spooky. But after those stories, I think you know why he's had enough spooky things for a lifetime. Now you understand, Shanclen, why he doesn't really want to listen when you start telling your stories.
It all makes sense now.
Yeah. So, or actually, now that I think about it, because what you said a minute ago, maybe he should reach out to you and tell. Maybe you can help his whatever's going on with his aunt, because apparently it hasn't gone away. So, let me finish actually with an oldie but a goodie for the Geek Speak show, at least. This is when I had 3 co-hosts, Rachel Roselli, Jay Gibbs, and Joe Japitana. Now, I didn't know if they would want to do anything paranormal for the Halloween episode, since we never talked about any experiences or anything spooky, really. We always talked about Star Wars and all the stuff you hear us talk about on the Geek Speak show. We always talked about that. Especially Rachel, if you guys remember, she was Miss Star Wars. Everything was Star Wars with Rachel. So I didn't think or knew if they had any experiences. The morning that we recorded the Halloween episode that year, I asked them, have any of you guys had any paranormal experiences? And like I said, it's now become an oldie but a goodie. This was their answer.
Halloween, of course, is about things that go bump or boo in the night. It's not that dark in here because I have the lights on because Joel gets scared. But we all have had our own experiences. Ghost stories.
Yes, we have.
Or things we think are a little ghostly. We've heard stories from family, from friends. So before we go on anything else, we'll share some of ours. I asked all you guys to send some. You guys never fail. You guys have a few. They're right there. I printed out for you guys to read. We're going to read them in just a little bit later on in the show. But we're going to start with ours first. We'll show you ours, then you show us yours. So
that's how we play here at the Geek Speak show.
We'll do ladies first. Joel, go ahead and start.
So one time back in high school, back in the day.
Wait. That you're not scaring anybody. Let's set the mood. Hold on. Okay. Now go ahead.
There's this hospital on 5th and Lake.
15th and Lake, actually. And so it used to be abandoned. It's in San Francisco. And the story goes that it was like an abandoned military hospital. So we used to, like, you know, try to sneak into it. Now it's well, it's not scary now because, like, they renovated it. But when it was abandoned, the story goes that, like, you know, apparently, like, they built that hospital over a military graveyard, and the tennis courts were supposed to be haunted, and the hospital was, like, pretty scary. I remember we had to, like, break in through the window and you know, come inside, and turned out it was like it was pretty scary because, like, it's like
he allegedly broke through the window.
I mean, we opened the window. And
that window was broken when they got there.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there
The
you go.
ghosts broke the window.
Thank you guys.
We got your back.
Yeah, and then so we went inside, and I remember it was just like a bunch of tags and a bunch of, like, it was kind of crazy because someone was definitely there before, and there were like a lot of baby dolls hanging.
Ooh.
It was really weird. And it was like we couldn't find the morgue, but we went inside, and there was like the main staircase, and I was like, hey, you guys want to go upstairs? And once you stepped foot on it, this huge alarm went off. We ran out, and that was kind of scary.
The end. Da-da-da.
As we
That was the
discovered,
worst part.
as we discovered last year in the contest we did with the Winchester Mystery House, any story that has dolls in it is automatically
creepy. Yeah.
scary. Yeah.
There you go.
So who wants to go next? Jay,
I'll go
Rachel?
next.
You go next? Okay, Jay goes next.
All right. This is not actually my story. This is the story of a friend of mine who lives in San Jose and has lived in San Jose basically his entire life. And I lived in San Jose. He was my roommate for a long time, for about 3 years. We lived right down the street from the Winchester Mystery House. We were on, like, Winchester Boulevard. And he used to live in a neighborhood just about 2 miles sort of east of there. Kind of a rundown old neighborhood in San Jose. And in this apartment building, it was his first apartment that he had with, like, his first serious girlfriend right when he was 18, moved out of his parents' house. In this creepy old apartment building, strange things started happening that couldn't be explained. For some reason, all of the butter knives from their silverware drawer started disappearing right after they moved in and unpacked. And they couldn't find them for a long time, but there were flickers in the lights and weird noises, especially at night. A lot of weird, uncalled for creaks, especially in the pipes in the bathroom. And you can attribute all of those things to just, it's an old building and, you know, it's an apartment, so of course things are going to break down with time. But the really weird thing was eventually they found all of the butter knives had magically relocated themselves into the front closet of this apartment building. And they couldn't figure out why. And they both, he and his girlfriend, started having bad dreams and trouble sleeping. And then doors during the winter started to slam, doors and windows, in this apartment. And these are doors that shouldn't be able to slam. Like, they're really heavy, like, locked from the inside at night doors. And windows that have, you know, the double panes, and they're old and they're creaky and they stick more than they should slam. And so he decided to go to the library and look up the public records of this building. And it turns out that in his apartment, I think it was 4B, in this crappy little San Jose neighborhood, about 30 to 50 years ago, something like that. Like, I think it was during the early 70s. There had been a break-in in their specific apartment where a woman was living by herself. It was a hotel back then. And a woman was staying there long-term, and a guy broke in to try to rob her, not knowing that she was home. And she hid in that front closet holding a butter knife in order to defend herself, because it was the only knife that she had available to her. And it turns out that the robber actually found her and shot her in that front closet. And before she died, she stabbed him in the throat with the butter knife, and he stumbled backwards and died in the bathroom.
That's scary.
It's really creepy.
Is that not a good one?
I'm getting chills.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The tale of the butter knives.
It all started with a butter knife disappearing.
All in the same area as the Winchester Mystery House.
San Jose is a very haunted area.
Yeah, you mentioned the Catherine Cosmo she was on, and San Jose is a very haunted city. So there you go, more proof of that. So, Rachel,
better storyteller than me.
All right. So mine is pretty crazy as well. This actually happened to me. So yeah. So my mom and my dad bought a house, and the people that lived there before had 2 little kids. And
that's scary enough.
Oh yeah. And when they purchased the house, one of the bedrooms, which the children's bedroom with the wallpaper, and you could tell, had like a sliding lock on the outside of the children's bedroom door.
Ooh, I like it
which
already.
is creepy enough to start with. So they were like, all right, whatever, we'll take that down. That's a little strange, but and of course I did not know this, and that happened to be my bedroom, of course, when we moved in.
Yay!
So all the strange things started happening right away. I mean, this has always been the case in her house. And doors, same thing, opening and closing, lights on and off, random sounds here and there. And it's funny because my dad would say, "You guys are crazy. That's nothing. That's something because of the house or this or that." Always finding a reason for things, and we're like, "No, it's pretty creepy." So we would be upstairs, let's say, like me and my sister or somebody upstairs, and my mom would come to the bottom of the stairs and say, what do you guys want? And we'd go over there and say, well, we didn't call you. And she would have heard a kid saying, Mom. And then we started hearing someone calling for Mom, and it was neither of us. And so some little kid was calling for Mom, and we would be getting ready for school or whatever we were doing, and we would hear like kids' laughter.
Ooh.
Now, it wasn't necessarily sinister, but little kids laughing that don't exist, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
So my sister and I, my mom's a voice teacher, so we would be practicing vocals and things, and we had
love music.
They do. There's something about it. And so we had sheer curtains, and so my sister was practicing a song, and the curtain moved, and something sat on the windowsill.
Oh!
So, and it would just sit there, and it would listen to us sing. And then we would get out of the shower, and there would be a little handprint on the shower sometimes.
That's super
and so
creepy.
We decided that there was a little boy because just based on the fact that our mom then told us that there was like trains and things on the walls when she first had seen it. And so another creepy thing is I sleep with my eyes about half open.
Okay.
Just some people do that, whatever.
It's kind of common.
It is pretty
Yep,
scary.
and I do that. So I would sleep. My bed was facing a window, basically across the room would be the window, and so when I slept, I'd be facing it. And at night, I would get woken up because something would move past the window, and I'd see the change in the light in the room. Mm-hmm. And so this happened pretty frequently, enough that I would have to try to put something over the window or try to turn the other way or whatever. And so I would see something walking. I could hear footsteps like on the carpet, back and forth between the 2 bedrooms in the hallway. And then as I started being more aware of all these different sounds that were, obviously not normal, I would be sleeping, and at the end of the bed, something would pull the covers under the bed so that my feet would lay flat.
Ooh.
And I would wake up from it. And so I was very creeped out about that. And then I would tell my mom about it, and she was like, I don't know. And sounds like the little boy, but he should be friendly. And she was always trying to make it better. So my dad thought we were crazy. He thought I was crazy. I don't know. And he came home one day, nobody was home, and it was dark, and he turned on the light and it flickered. And he went into the bedroom, and the door that in the other room slammed. And he was like, okay, well, whatever. It's nothing. Denial,
Right.
So we had a koosh ball, like one of those.
Oh, yeah. Everyone remember the 90s, koosh balls.
Yeah, we had one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had picked it up off the floor earlier and put it on the dresser so like the dog didn't get it or something. And so he walked into his room and did something, turned off the light, and the koosh ball slammed to the ground.
Whoa.
And to make any noise with a koosh ball, you can imagine, it has to be pretty forceful. And so he turned around and it was laying in the middle of the floor. And so he picked it up and said, okay, that's enough. And then he believed us after that. And so the final thing in this craziness is I was sleeping, and after all the sheets being pulled and everything, I had something sit on the corner of my bed. And it sat so hard. It could have been like a jump too. It was so forceful that it literally threw me out of my bed, and I woke up like against the wall.
Whoa.
So after that, I was like, okay, what do you want? I don't need to be thrown across the room.
Well, you're sleeping in his bed.
Well, so what happened is my mom would start talking to him when she was home alone or whatever, to, a little boy, and then she started seeing a man standing out in the yard dressed in a cowboy hat and flannel. And when she was home alone, she would see him standing out in the yard just watching.
Oh, that's unsettling.
So she decided that he was watching over her when she was home alone. So to this day, if you go to my mom's house, you will hear the little boy. And every time I go home and visit and I'm sleeping, I see him pass the window at least the first couple nights that I'm there, because he's checking to see who's in his house.
So your mom still lives there?
Yeah, more power to your mom for living there.
Oh, totally. She's like, he's fun. He's friendly.
No, thank you.
It's character.
Have they ever looked into the history of the house or what happened there or what, any of that?
We did look into the history, and there was only one family that had lived there before, and the parents live next door to this house, and the son and his wife and the kids, I think there was 2 little kids, lived in the house, and then couldn't afford it anymore or something, and they had to move. But the wife was like a little crazy. She had issues. And so the family always knew that there was something mentally wrong with her. And so I'm assuming that she kept the kids locked in the room, and it was something else very wrong.
Yeah, I think there was something wrong. Like I said, a favorite with the Geek Speak audience over the years. So that's the Halloween episode for this year. Shanclen, what have you been up to? I know you do spooky all the time on one of your channels, but for Halloween, for October, what have you been doing on your channels for Halloween that they can go watch?
So I'm introducing a new audio series that is showing, or not showing, but you can hear some exclusive scary stories made by true events. But as I've mentioned before, we cannot share all the scary things that happen in these stories due to sacred references and purposes. So I have that on there. I have a paranormal investigation that's coming up for Halloween. It's going to be a very Halloween special. And as this episode airs, there's already some paranormal content happening on Shanclen Shadow Productions. So go subscribe over there on my YouTube channel and enjoy the horror for Halloween.
And
yes.
There's a lot of branches, but I do have the link tree. He sent it to me, so you just click on that. Click on Shanclen's name. That'll take you to everything. And be sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss it. He does put a lot of stuff pretty much on a weekly basis, so you don't want to miss anything that he puts up there, other than what he does here on the Geek Speak show. Speaking of, if you missed any of this year's Geek Speak Treats episodes, they're all on the website until the clock strikes midnight on October 31st on Halloween. There were 12 episodes this year, but I'm going to let you know now, one last treat. On Friday, October 31st, yes, Halloween, you're going to get the final 13th Geek Speak Treats for this year, and it's a video one. I haven't decided which one I'm going over them yet, but it will be... I'm going to share one of the many interviews I did when I was promoting OC Paracon. Shanclen remembers that. He was a part of that also, which was a paranormal conference I organized for my other podcast, Paranormal Perception. You're going to hear my paranormal experiences, my stories, and why I came to be interested in all this. And also, mixed in with that, you're going to hear how I came to be a radio personality, and how from about the same time when I saw ghosts in real life, another life-changing event happened that same year. This little movie called Star Wars came into my life, and, well, you're listening to what came out of that. the Geek Speak Show. So that video is gonna, whichever one I pick, it's gonna tell you that story. I don't think I've ever shared that here on the Geek Speak Show. I've hinted at things, but this in the video the Geek Speak Treats video you're gonna get on Friday, it'll give you both stories, my paranormal stories, my paranormal beginning, and how I got into radio and ultimately started doing the Geek Speak Show. Exactly what I explained Halloween is to me: fun and spooky, and a little bit of history, just not boring. Now, all of you that are listening to us right now, have fun, be safe on Halloween, especially after what you heard Shanclen tell you. Be sure to come back next week, as we're finally going to be doing an Issues of the Day episode. And more importantly, you hear it in the background, the countdown begins to the last times we're going to hear this theme that's playing. In other words, next week, the Issues of the Day, we will definitely speak more geek. Oh yeah, have a happy Halloween too.
Thank you for being a part of this year's Halloween episode, especially those of you who sent in your ghost stories. All of this year's Geek Speak Treats episodes are available on thegeekspeakshow.com until the clock strikes midnight on October 31st. Henry and Shanclen will be back next week to speak more geek. I hope you will too. Have a safe and happy Halloween from Henry, Shanclen, and everyone at the Geek Speak Show. And remember, always follow the rules of Halloween night. The 2025 Halloween episode was produced and distributed by 22 Creations Multimedia, LLC.